Hello and welcome to level 36 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here once again with my two compadres. I have David.
What up?
And I have Cory.
EA Sports. It's in the
Um, maybe let's see. Maybe you want to try that again because you came in a little
It's very robotic.
robotic there. Give the people another go of it.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
There
Yes.
you go.
I love
I
it.
know exactly where that's from. One of the worst games ever made. That's what it's called, the worst game ever made.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, chickens, ducks, and hens, we welcome you into level 36. We're glad you are joining us, tuning in to this level. We got some nice stuff cooked up. So I think we're going to jump right into it, of course, with the newsy news, and that is the morning announcements. Now, for today's level, we have 4 news items on the docket, but one of them is a bigot. So let's start with news item number 1. Is that this past week or so, Sony had their PlayStation 5 Showcase, where they showed a bunch of stuff off for the systems you can't find anywhere yet. Obviously, there were things for, one of them being, I'm sure Cory might go into a bit more detail with, but they showed some God of War off. I believe there was a little bit, everyone was older. People are tripping out over the fact that Thor got a little chub on him, which is a very weird thing. But yeah, they showed off a bunch of stuff. Cory, maybe you want to talk about some of the stuff they showed off. There's one thing they showed off that I absolutely am interested in, but how about you let us know what they show?
Yeah, so first up, God of War, as you said, they had like a 3-minute trailer with gameplay and all that stuff. They really kind of showed it off as much as they could. It looks good. It looks like more God of War. It's continuing the story of God of War 2018. So very excited for that one. You kind of knew what you were getting. There wasn't any groundbreaking changes to the formula for this one, but very excited to see the trailer. Marvel had a little bit of a showcase, which I know you were excited about. Is that which one you were talking about?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So Insomniac, the hardest working developers on the planet, apparently,
True.
showed off Spider-Man 2 with Venom coming out 2023, and they showed off Wolverine, which is going to be a very mature take, probably rated M. So that's cool, because we haven't had a really good Wolverine game since Wolverine Origins, I believe, which was a movie tie-in game, but pretty good. And definitely the biggest one, maybe not the biggest, but the biggest for you is that Knights of the Old Republic remake. Is that right?
That's right. It was announced as a timed PlayStation exclusive, I
Yes.
believe.
What did you like
is-
about the trailer?
That's a trick question. So you see the cloak, the face, the mask, and the cloak of he who is Darth Revan, which is awesome. It's a PlayStation timed exclusive, which is not awesome. I will be getting that game on my Xbox. So
You're gonna wait?
yeah,
Why?
because the first Knights of the Old Republic were Xbox exclusives.
You don't owe them anything, man.
I don't. But I mean, I'm gonna play it on my Xbox because it'll probably be the only one I still have space on my hard drive for.
That's true.
That's right. But actually, I'm very interested in the Wolverine game too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That actually
Yeah.
looks pretty good.
The fact that they're going for more of like that mature Logan type of feel, right? Like,
Right.
yeah.
It was
definitely.
only a CGI trailer, but
Yep.
it set the tone. I would say
Mhm.
it was in a bar, a bunch of dudes dead, and then Wolverine sitting
Just
at a bar
sitting there.
drinking.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a big showcase though. I think they had about 40 minutes of just purely gameplay trailers. Gran Turismo 7 was showing off a little more. A game called Project Eve which I
No one
thought
cares
looked.
about Gran Turismo 7.
No one cares. I don't care.
I'm surprised they're still making them.
Project Eve was shown off. I don't know if you got to see that one. That one
Uh,
looked really good in my opinion.
okay.
And just a bunch more. Guardians of the Galaxy was shown off again. I thought it was an okay showcase until about the last 5 minutes where they showed off all the big titles.
Yeah. And that's usually got to try what they do. End with a bang. They forget a lot of these companies forget that doesn't mean you bore us most of the time, right? Like
Right.
end with you ramp up, right? Yeah.
Uh,
But I think
nothing-
it's. Oh, go ahead.
Nothing Twisted Metal, huh?
No Twisted Metal.
No twisted
Bunch of
metal
fools,
games.
I tell you, fools.
There was a big casting announcement,
Yes.
but nothing for the game.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Falcor himself.
interesting.
So news item number 2. Now I don't know if Sony stated this at their PS5 showcase, but it was around the same time, right? Which is that Sony states that there was a big hubbub made about I think it was Horizon about you having to pay the upgrade. So they're like, okay, well you don't have to do it for Horizon, but you're gonna have to do it for every game going forward. So they announced that PS4 to PS5 upgrades will be $10 going forward. I mean, by now that's to be expected from this money-grubbing, soulless corporation known as Sony. That unfortunately seems to pump out pretty good first-party games.
Right. You can't kind of live without them because they do make good games that me personally I want to play. So hopefully by the time this will actually matter, PS5s will be more available. But it's still just one of those things where it's like Xbox has no issue saying, hey, if it's cross-gen, you buy it on one platform, you have it on all of them.
Yeah. Hopefully by the time this really goes into effect, it becomes a bit more clear that Xbox could be turning the tide in the console war, though that's highly unlikely.
I really hope they do because that's how companies do better. PS3,
Right.
Sony really fell apart because Xbox 360 was doing so well. They made a lot of changes, and I think PS4 was an excellent system with great games and great
Because
policy.
of that. Yeah.
Right. And Xbox kind of fell apart during the Xbox One because of the Xbox 360 success. So
Yeah.
we need that.
We can only hope. We can only hope for Sony's failure. News item number 3. Epic had their lawsuit with Apple come to a decision, which is basically that Apple kind of worked within their right. Epic was suing Apple because Apple takes a 30% cut on in-app purchases, right? And so obviously Epic had Fortnite on iOS, and they were like, this is preposterous. This is ridiculous. We don't do anything similar like this on our own platform. And so they sued. They lost that suit. Epic is required to pay Apple that 30%. But on the other side of this, there are a lot more regulators and politicians looking at antitrust issues with Apple because though Apple doesn't really have a quote unquote full monopoly on being able to do digital in-app purchases, right? You have Google and maybe a couple other platforms. It is one of those that it's very close to being a monopolized industry. So Apple may end up losing in the long run because there will be potential revenue or fees it may not be able to collect in the same way it's been doing before. So Epic loses straight up. Apple kind of loses in the long run, which means we all win because these two companies are terrible. So it's one rich guy losing to another rich guy. But the other rich guy may lose some money in the long run. So it's all cool, guys. Or have you been keeping up with this thing at all? Do you have any interest in it? Do you just see it like two wealthy companies just kind of like throwing punches and that's it?
I haven't been looking into it very, closely, but I was waiting for results. So basically, like you said, rich versus rich. And at this point though, it's Epic walked so we can run. But yeah, I kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of I mean, we got to kind of root for Epic, right?
Essentially, because they were
Because
kind of
like
doing the right thing, but they
in
were
the
just being
long
greedy about
run,
it.
in the long run, it'll help us because like right
Yes.
now with Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, they all have monopolies on their own platforms where you cannot buy digital games through any other means. So
Mhm.
obviously they can set
Right.
the prices as high as they want for as long as they want.
Right.
So hopefully that's a step towards everyone kind of loosening up a little bit.
Yeah. I know that Tim Sweeney from Epic, CEO of Epic, has said that they're already getting ready to send an appeal. I think everyone saw that coming, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how my idea kind of could be a thing now
Yeah.
about the whole reselling your digital stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
Possibly. We'll see. Hopefully, it's not Apple that takes that idea because they will screw it up.
Oh yeah.
And we have news item number 4. Dying Light 2 been delayed to February 2022. So next February, this upcoming February, Dying Light 2 should be released. Now I know the first Dying Light is a highly revered game, especially like zombie game. I remember playing Dying Light when it first came out, and I thought this is absolutely a cool game. I didn't think it was as cool as its legacy has made it, but apparently people are super gassed up for Dying Light 2. And seeing the different story trailers and stuff like that, it seems like they're taking it in a pretty interesting direction. So, David, you're the resident horror zombie guy here. Is that like Dying Light 2 or Dying Light in general? Is that anything you've really had an interest in? And Dying Light 2, are you looking forward to that?
You know, honestly, I haven't played Dying Light, but I've only ever heard good things about it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I haven't played it is because I just hyper focus on things I'm already playing or
Mhm.
things that we talk about here, and I'll try those games. But with it coming out come February, I'm gonna actually I think I'm gonna get it and see how it is because as you said, I just those kind of games just are interesting to me. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah. What about you, Corey? Have you played Dying Light before?
I missed Dying Light 1. Always wanted to pick it up on a sale. Just never felt like the right time. Hopefully, February is a little lax in the game department, so I have an excuse to pick this up because it does look like a lot of fun. You know, the parkour, loved it at Mirror's Edge. It looks like Dying Light does a good job of that as well. As you said, the branching
Sure.
storylines that affect the world. And zombie games, if done well, are fun games. So, slightly interested for sure.
Dying Light 2 is probably going to be a pass for me initially because February is also when Horizon Forbidden West comes out. So,
Right, it's
Okay.
gonna suck up a lot of your time.
yeah, so I mean, it's probably a no go,
It'll
but
take them 8
eventually.
months.
Right.
Okay. All right. There you go. And that ends the morning announcements, which means we are moving on to the roundtable where we have a singular topic of discussion that we discuss. And the topic that we want to talk about for this level echoes back, I think, a few levels ago to one of Cory's final thoughts, one of the many ridiculous ones he's had, where he talked about the games and difficulty. So we wanted to talk about difficulty in games. It's a discussion point, a interest, a conversation piece that has been emerging in gaming lately. You know, as the games like the Souls-like games and other games that kind of pride themselves on difficulty are merging and becoming popular, there's concerns that maybe the difficulty is making games too inaccessible to an audience of gamers. So, difficulty in games, guys, um, are they really necessary? Do you think a game can be too hard?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so. And a good one would be like The Last of Us. I played it on Grounded, and yeah, I did eventually beat it, but I died over 300 times. It was just so crucial to have every correct movement, saving bullets for this and that, and then, playing it on like normal. It still had a difficulty thing, like I didn't just blaze through it. You still had to do certain things at certain times, but you had more health items, more ammo. It was just a little more lax, yet still difficult. I think difficulties should be in games because there's a lot of people that just enjoy playing, that can, just have a couple hours a day, want to just get through a story and feel really immersed in this whole, universe that they're playing. And then there's some people that want to test the limits and get like maybe all the achievements or do the hardest difficulty and try and beat it, see if they can do it. Like there's a very big realm of video gamers, and while not necessary, putting difficulties in your game is going to give you a lot bigger of a crowd for your game. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good points. Oh, did you want to expand on that?
Oh,
Jeremy?
no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we know video games are a product, but before they're a product, they're somebody's like work of art.
Right.
Maybe people don't think video games are art. I tend to lean on the side that they are art. I'm not going to tell the director of a game what they should do with their game. If they want to make it hard as heck and put no difficulty options in there, that's up to them. I think as gamers and people who just play games in general, we usually have a pretty good idea on going into a game how difficult it's going to be, or if the game has a reputation for that. So,
Right.
yeah, I think if you don't want to put options in there, that's fine. You know that you are going to be hurt a little bit by the audience. Not everyone's going to want to play your game. Not everyone is saying like, "Oh, I want to jump into Dark Souls," because they know it's a very hard type of genre. And that's okay with that director because he has a vision that he wants to follow and he's not willing to sacrifice that to make a easy mode for that game. And I'm okay with that. A lot of those games are very hard. I haven't beaten them all. I've tried some of them. I've beat a couple, even like Returnal this year, 40 hours into it, I wasn't able to beat it. It was too difficult for me. And that's okay. I understand the argument that, I want to see the story. I want to see it progress. There's means to do that now. Everyone has YouTube. Everyone has Let's Plays. You can see the story throughout without playing it.
Right. As you're bringing up discussions, I was going to bring that up, saying, there is millions of Twitch streamers, there's millions of content on YouTube, Facebook, wherever people are posting things. You can find a playthrough, walkthrough, guides for pretty much any game nowadays. So if it
Right.
is too hard, you do have other means, like you said, which I also agree with your statement. If the director of a game doesn't want an easier difficulty, it's totally fine.
It's a tough call that they have to make.
Right. Because
Jeremy.
it affects the, sorry. It just,
No, you're good. You're good.
it just mostly, I guess at the end of the day, all it really affects is the sales. And if you're a big company with bigger games, you're not too worried about it. But if you're like an indie trying to make games,
I know some people have said, people with disabilities, they would like to be able to play games, and some of them are just, impossible for them.
mhm.
I know Twitter. I'm the Twitter guy out of us three. That conversation does pop up from time to time. Like, hey, I wish this series was more accessible. Why can't they put an easy mode in it? And they could, but then you wouldn't be playing the product that they wanted you to play. So what's
Right.
honestly the point?
Right. I'm on both sides of this fence, unfortunately. But it's just both have good points, good views. It's just really it's up to the developers and directors, like you said.
Jeremy, you've been quiet.
I was just letting discussion play out.
Okay.
I'm of the belief that an easy mode or an accessibility mode doesn't take away from the art itself at all. Because it is trying to essentially, if you take a game like Dark Souls and someone can't can't play the game because at its current thing, it's too difficult, right? Its regular mode or difficulty is too difficult. Making it easier for that person doesn't take away the goal of the experience because it still has difficulty, right? So it's kind of the idea of that. Well, I want there to be a certain level of proficiency in something in order for you to experience my game and experience its story and yada. I mean, for one, I can't think of a single game where the story was enhanced by the difficulty or the themes of it were enhanced by the difficulty. So
Well,
the idea that like they can't put an easy mode or an accessibility mode in there sometimes and open it up to a broader amount of gamer, not just gamers that maybe just want to experience stories, kind of like books or movies, but gamers that may have disabilities or certain kind of handicaps to where they can't, they don't have that ability to do some of those things, but they would still get something and enjoy something from the story and the characters and all those things that are within the game. You know, I fail to understand why that's not something that's explored more. Like to me, if we take Dark Souls, the part of the whole allure of Dark Souls is that it's difficult and that you really feel like you have accomplished something when you get done beating it, right? But for someone that can't even do it on the base level, right? If you were to make it easier for them, they would still have difficulty with that. And at the end of them playing that game, they themselves would still feel that accomplishment. Now, if you're someone that doesn't have a disability or something that inhibits your ability to play a game, and you decide to play it on the normal whatever rating, you still get that same experience, right? So it's not like making it so if you, as someone who's able to play a more quote unquote more difficult game, decide to play it at that because you decide that you want to have that experience and maybe it's less fulfilling, you're choosing that less fulfilling experience, but you're not having the opportunity or chance of that experience being limited to you because a creative director or programmer has a some kind of thing of wanting difficulty to be innately tied to their video game, right? At least that's my thinking on it.
yeah, I kind of disagree with you on a couple points there. You were talking about the gameplay being difficult doesn't enhance the story, and that is true, But games are gameplay. That's what separates them from movies or books. The first and foremost, games are about gameplay. Story always, at least 99% of the time, comes second. So the gameplay isn't there to enhance the story in terms of difficulty. It's to enhance the gameplay. The gameplay being difficult makes the gameplay fun. And that's what it's about for those really difficult games. And another point you brought up about, it doesn't matter if they lower the difficulty because it's still going to be a challenge for them. I feel like that's a little bit flawed because, like, take Dark Souls, for instance. What do you do to lower that difficulty? Do you make the boss have less health? Do you change its attack patterns? Do you just cut out a whole section of the boss? Because if you do any of those things, that does change the feeling that the player would get. If you make the boss take more damage and have less health, well, you're not actually feeling like you're going through a gauntlet of a 15-minute boss fight. Now it's maybe a 5-minute boss fight. And if you're taking out, certain attack patterns, yeah, that definitely changes the feeling you would get from fighting this monster. So it's good in theory, and some games can pull it off for sure, but I feel like some games, no, they should stick with what they do.
Right. I mean, so with the last point, like you said, if you're doing something like lowering HP or attack or something like that, that a 15-minute boss fight becomes a 5-minute boss fight, right? That it may become a 5-minute boss fight for you, but for someone else, that may not be the case, and it becomes something that they can't even entertain doing because of the level of difficulty. It becomes a 15-minute boss fight of which they are able to then feel like they've accomplished something and then continue on in the story.
That is true. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, it's just very hard. Like, I know not all gamers are the same, but when I play a game with different difficulties, I always usually pick like normal because I know that's at least going to be interesting and difficult for me. Like I almost never pick easy unless I'm trying to play a new game for the first time on like a stream or something, and I want to get stuck on a spot and bore the viewers. But I always go forth trying to make things a little difficult and interesting for myself. And sure, if there's only the one, I'm gonna sit there and just try and try and try. Like I don't even think of a game right now, but there's games where I've gotten stuck and I just kept going and going, and eventually I did get past it, but that took me hours and sometimes a few gameplays just to get through it. Not many people have that determination or that time sink.
Hmm. Yeah, I think also like this issue we're talking about, I believe 95% of games don't, maybe not even have this issue, right? Because
Mhm.
they have those varying different levels of difficulty. So you're able to choose, what you want to get into, right? So and what level you want to get into it at. But I think or even there's other ways to even like one of the things I really like is that something that Cuphead does, right? Like the ending you get for beating it on normal is different than the one you get for simplified. In fact, it's arguably you can't completely fully beat the game on simplified, which is the easier version of it, right? Some other things like that where you can reward gamers if you want to reward gamers for playing the game in the difficulty or way that you more so envisioned it. But then again, that's also kind of weird to me because if you have someone playing it more simplified because they just can't play a more difficult version of it, then you're making it seem as though their experience and them conquering those obstacles
Right.
are
You're
less
still
adequate.
punishing them. You're still
Exactly.
punishing them.
Yeah, it is weird.
So what is the solution?
The solution, I think, is a mix of what you were saying before. The idea of designing the experiences, having having people who are gamers but may not have those, whatever you want to call it, quote unquote, normal abilities or cognitive abilities or whatever. Just keeping them in mind as you design the game. I think that's where it starts, right? And whether that possibly changes some of how you seek to design things is, it depends. I mean, we look at something like The Last of Us 2 Part 2, right? Which of all the things people don't like about it, and there's tons of things I don't like about it. One of the things I love was its accessibility menus and the
Mhm.
options and everything like that. That's designing with those kind of constraints and those kind of situations in mind when you're building the game. And I don't think it made, again, it wasn't something that's specific to difficulty, right? But it was designing the experience with those things in mind. And if you're able to do so, I think you create a better, more accessible game. Someone that has disabilities or different things that inhibit their abilities, they're able to play The Last of Us Part 2, right?
Right.
Because of those accessibility things. Well, that's someone that gets to experience this story, good or bad, that may have had a much more arduous or difficult ability of experiencing that story if they even had a chance to experience it at all. That's what I think is the ultimate win in all of this. But again, I think keeping it in mind is how you start, how you exactly do it, the science behind it, the programming. Got no idea really. Uh, but I think making a conscious effort to at least consider those things, I think are the first step. So I mean, again, most games don't have this problem, but even for some of those other more difficult games or quote unquote Souls-like games, um, maybe they can start to consider it. But then there's also kind of the issue of does a does a Souls-like game, does a Dark Souls game need to consider that for their audience, for their target audience? Probably not. So then they probably
Right.
won't because they don't have to. There's
Right.
no impetus financially to do so. So.
Right.
So would you like to see him at it? It sounds like a yes. Like you would like Bloodborne 2 to have an easy, medium, and hard mode.
Yeah, or at least like maybe just a normal mode and then an easy mode, right? Or something like that. But yeah, having something like that, they don't do the weird Cuphead thing where you don't get the full ending if you. There's a reason they're doing easy. They're not doing easy because they're lazy. It's a weird thing, but yeah, something like that. Something like most games have easy, medium, hard, hardcore,
Right.
brutal stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
I was gonna add, if they did put in difficulties, they can put in a even harder difficulty. What if you had the ability to play Dark Souls on like Expert Plus?
No,
You
thank
know,
you.
like it gets frustrating, trust me. But I mean, just to put even bigger strain on the game, trying to beat it, like I think it could be a positive both ways.
No, thank
But
you.
as
No,
Jeremy
thank you.
said, I think it would be the best direction to at least make it so everybody can play the game.
It's tough because, like, obviously we're talking mostly about Dark Souls here, the Souls games. Souls games are hard, but they're not hard. Souls games are all about pattern recognition. If you have an enemy, he has a certain number of moves that he can do. Once you know his move, you just got to roll or you just got to block, and that's it. So to change that kind of stuff, it would be very difficult to, like, I guess maybe, make them show something before they actually do what move they're going to do. I don't know how you would do it, but
Right.
yeah, that's a tough one. I have actually a reverse of this kind of talk. Pokemon. Pokemon, I love playing for the story. I know a lot of people play it for like the after, the game after, battling people online and breeding Pokemon. I like playing through the story a lot. I used to. I would love it to have a difficulty mode where you can make the game hard.
Oh yeah.
Because when you play through those
Right.
games,
It levels up their Pokemon and
yeah,
stuff like
well,
that. And
yeah, when you play through the game, nearly every trainer has one or two Pokemon while I'm rolling with a team of six. I would love to have like gym trainers that actually have full six Pokemon and they're EV trained and they have really good moves and they use items and it's like a real battle, but they don't. So it continuously stays a very kid friendly game, even though their audience has grown up. And I don't want them to get rid of the kid friendliness for that game, but man, I would
Right.
appreciate a tougher mode.
I'd love it if you could get jacked in Pokemon, right?
Just
Like
robbed.
yeah, like someone beats you in a battle and then they're like, ha, little B, I'm gonna steal this Blastoise, and they just take your Pokemon, right? And you have to find them and like beat them in a battle to get your Pokemon back, or you can like beat them because they have it all the time where you would beat a trainer and they may give you a Pokemon they had, right? So it's like, oh, you beat Hitmonchamp or Hitmonlee and you can get either one of them. I like it to be the other
Right.
way around where someone beats you and like, give me this Raichu, and it's something more dynamic there, I think.
That sounds like a fun mode.
It sounds like a fun mode. That should be in hardcore brutal mode, right?
Right.
That's where it shifts from being E for everyone to T for teens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish they would just put in the there's like a fan kind of game that they play. It's called Nuzlocke.
oh,
Where
yep, I've heard of that.
yeah, if your Pokemon faints, you have to release them. You're only
Yeah.
allowed to catch the first Pokemon of every route that you go to. And there's a whole bunch of rules. I think some allow you to use items, some don't. So I would love for them to put that officially in. But do you guys want to flex and tell me what your most difficult game is you ever beat?
It's The Last of Us Ungrounded. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be hard to beat.
It-
That sounds extremely difficult.
Difficult game. Difficult game. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't play a lot of difficult games.
So there's nothing that comes there's nothing that comes
I
to
mean,
mind, huh?
if I'm going most recent memory, it's going to end up being Limbo.
As difficult?
Oh yeah, Limbo is difficult. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thinking further, but I mean, I don't know. It's there's so many too many games I've played to
Right.
think about the hardest one. But yeah, I'd probably say like off rip that I can think of Limbo probably.
I think you're selling yourself short. You beat Civ games, right? Like you win.
Yeah,
Those games seem pretty difficult. Or like Frostpunk? Does that have like an end?
Frostpunk's pretty hard.
Right. Like they're easy for you, I guess, because you've just been playing them. But
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
me
guess,
or
yeah.
David goes into that, we're like
Yeah,
years
getting far.
and years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it'd probably be some strategy game that I played that I can't remember right now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've beaten Sekiro. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Most difficult game I ever played. So hard.
You know, the years thing. I played Bomberman on Sega when I was younger, probably like 7, 8, whatever, and I could never beat the final boss. But the last boss code is like drilled in my head. So I tried to play it again when I was like 16, and I finally beat it. It
Like
took
first
me
try?
that long.
Oh.
Like not first try, but I finally beat it when I was like 16, 17. I just couldn't beat it when I was preteen.
We're proud of you, man.
Have you
Thanks.
have you guys had that where you maybe go back and play a game that you played maybe 10, 15 years ago? Or like if you were like 7 or 8 when you played it when you were 16, 17, or if you played it when you were 18, you've played it like recently and you're beating it and you're like, man, this was hard. Like I was an idiot back then. How was this hard? This is so easy, you know?
I was screaming, finally, yes!
I Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow for the DS. I really love that game. Like one of my favorites, Metroidvanias for sure. I had gotten really far in the game, and then for some reason I couldn't get past the point. I think I was stuck, or there was a boss. Put it down for like a year, and then this is a true story. I'm like, you know what? I've really got to go to the bathroom bad. I'm gonna bring this in the bathroom. I'm gonna try to just knock it out real quick. Sat down on the toilet, all ready. 5 minutes, and I beat the game. Don't know what happened, but that year break and like 5 minutes on the toilet, things were clear. I beat the boss. It was just like I wiped and I washed my hands and got out of there.
It's that toilet luck.
It was a
Yeah.
toilet luck.
Yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real measurable thing. Guys, do we have anything else we wanted to add to the conversation for Roundtable?
I think that was all good.
Yeah,
Right.
even though my point kind of stood opposite of you, Jeremy, I definitely respect, and David, you're kind of more mid.
Yeah.
I definitely understand your guys' points. I want everyone to be able to enjoy games. I just don't want it to be at the cost of someone's vision, I guess. But they can work around it.
Likewise. Yeah, I see yours too. I think sometimes, like me even thinking about it from like a film, like you were saying, like a film, let's say, would you tell a film director, I mean, and they kind of are,
They
but,
do.
right?
They do.
But when you see the paint by numbers in regards to movies nowadays, in regards to diversity or viewpoints or anything like that, and you're like, wow, can anyone just create a organic, original concept, flawed, blinded, or not, right? Like just an authentic, honest perspective on something, and you're like, well, it's not accessible to everyone that way,
Right.
So I understand that too. You definitely don't want to destroy the art that someone may be creating, and I guess maybe they can find some way as an in between. I think better than what they have currently.
Right.
Yeah. But that is it for our roundtable, which means we are going to move on to quickfire, where we talk about 1, 2, sometimes 3 games that we've been playing, and we want to shout them out. So, guys, who wants to give their quickfire first? I will.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I will shout out 3 games. First one, Fallout Shelter, kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, Medieval Dynasty. I don't know what is happening in there. I played it for a few hours and I don't know what's going on. Okay, I know here's the basic story. You're some dude that ran away from his family when they were murdered by a war, and now you're trying to build your own town. So it's basically same survival stuff. Gotta, cut trees, build houses, and you build houses, and then you can build farms, but eventually you're supposed to build a homestead in a village where more people come and they start to populate the town, and you create your own town of its own. There's no combat as far as like killing other people. There's hunting, but there's really no killing other people. So I don't think I'm gonna last long in this game. And the final game where you do kill people is Iron Harvest. All right, it's a real-time strategy game. It's like an alternate steampunk World War I real-time strategy game. I enjoy it very much. It's a cool-looking game, and I am pissed off because going back to our original discussion there, I tried some skirmish games where it's just you versus the AI. That's usually how I get to learn real-time strategy games. Just play a couple of matches with the AI, see how they do things, figure out the mechanics. So I'm trying to figure it out. I put it on easy, and the computer proceeds to whoop my ass with the quickness. And so now I'm confused as to what easy even means. I've gone on to Reddit and forums, and everyone gets their ass repeatedly kicked on easy, more so than they do on medium or hard. So I think the developers need to go back in there and do a little work and make it so that easy is easy. Because how are they producing these squads of stormtroopers and mechs? I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. How about David? How about you? What have you been playing?
I got the good old Apex. I went back to A Dance of Fire and Ice. There's still some levels I haven't beat yet, and I still can't beat them. But it's always good rhythm fun. And I picked up Deathloop. It's I don't know. I'm still trying to I'm trying to see. It seems all right so far.
Okay.
That's my quick fire.
Yeah, so I'm next. I got 3 new games. I got Orcs Must Die 3. That is a tower defense game, which I enjoy. I haven't played one in a while, but this one's kind of neat because you actually get to control your character as well and actually do a lot of the fighting. I know a lot of them on like mobile, you just set turrets down and you see what happens. This one, you're kind of in control. And it's a lot of fun. I like making like these really tight paths that they got to come down, you know. That seems to be a very strong strategy. And then 2 brand new ones, WarioWare, switch it up. It's 100% WarioWare. So if you've ever enjoyed WarioWare and you want more, this is the game you're looking for.
Dude,
and then
I played the crap out of that game.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely gonna pick this up.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is definitely WarioWare. All these fun. I'm cracking up at every game, you know, because it's just so goofy. It's got such a personality.
That is so good to hear.
Yeah, and just a good time. And then Deathloop. I also purchased that game. It got amazing reviews, and when a game gets reviewed like that, it's hard not to look at it and be like, "Oh man, what's it about?" So, like David, I'm pretty early in, probably a little bit further than him, but
I got 3 hours.
Okay, yeah, I'm probably 5 or 6. It's starting to grow on me. It's I thought it'd be a lot like Dishonored, where you have to really focus on stealth and using your powers. It has a lot more freedom than that, which I'm enjoying. And the time loop aspect is very, very interesting. We'll see if it pays off at some point, but I'm very intrigued about it. So, and we'll probably hear more next episode.
Probably. I was surprised no one had that as a draft pick for the draft.
I think Joey did.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody picked a game where it was. I think they have this one. Yeah.
I think it was Joey.
Somebody picked it. I think.
But it doesn't matter because the rest of his picks were trash. So.
Okay.
So really, it's just like a really great player getting drafted.
Could be the saving grace.
I think all his games are Dying Light 2 is one of his games, and we saw that delayed. Gotham Knights was also one of his games, and that was delayed.
Yep.
So,
oh goodness.
He also has Back for Blood, which
I think that's
definitely is coming out. I can't remember his other game. Yeah, but Deathloop, great reviews. Jeremy, are you gonna pick it up? I know you were kind of on the fence about it.
Yeah, probably will. I'm gonna probably trade in a couple of games, Biomutant being one of them, and I can't believe I even still have it. And I'll probably pick that up. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that yet because next level.
Right.
Next level, we could say you hate
it. Right. I don't know if it's worth it. Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are our quick fires / was it worth it? We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be back with this level's Was It Worth It?
This level of the Thoughts and Players podcast was made possible by your support. If you're enjoying the podcast, please be sure to like, rate, and share the show, as well as contribute to our community questions and segments. Doing so helps the show grow, keeps our content engaging, and most importantly, makes sure your voice is heard. Thanks for tuning in. And now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to your favorite podcast. It is now our favorite segment, your favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment. Was it worth it? And as you can see, Jeremy's not speaking because he's going to be taking the lead here. And his game is Humankind. We're going to go over our 5 points of interest. Jeremy, what is this Humankind all about?
So Humankind is a 4X strategy game, much in the vein of Civilization, or to a lesser extent, Total War. It was developed by Amplitude Studios, I believe, and published by Sega this past August, actually, like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, very recent. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. Let's go with our first one. How are the visuals of this game?
Okay. So I'm going to break that into 2 parts, is the actual gameplay visuals, and then they also have little mini movies that play when you reach different eras, right? So the mini movies are CG-ish, but well, not really CG. They're cell shader and art, right? But it's animated stuff. So they list different, world events or known things that happened, throughout time, and they'll show a cell shaded version of, perhaps people building the pyramids or something like that. That looks really good. The overall graphic style of the in-game stuff, I would compare it to like Civilization 6. It looks very similar to that kind of art style where it's not technically cartoony, but a little less serious than it's not trying to be too realistic with how it looks. But the colors are bright, great graphic fidelity, atmosphere, all that type of stuff. The UI is incredibly clean on this game, which is really, it's a feat to have in a game like a 4X game because you have to manage so many systems. The fact that you can keep everything nice and clean, it's a good job on it. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I know how having those kind of feats can be very beneficial. And let's move on to the next point of sound and music.
Okay. Sound and music. So there's going to be a lot of Civ comparisons because this is the game it's like directly going after. So the sound is good. It sounds good. When people fight, you hear the swords. When your people hunt animals, they make the sounds. If they're hunting woolly mammoths or deers or whatever, you hear the little. It's loud, it's clear, it's recognizable. The sound is good. The music is exceptional. Exceptional music. It has the different types of genres, quote unquote, you would play for something if it's in a more, ancient, far back era compared to something that's more contemporary or modern. The music is mellow. It plays the background of whatever screen or whatever you're doing at the moment. When there's combat, if there's war, the music intensifies appropriately. But it's another one of those things where it's the music's fantastic, right? It enhances. It never gets in the way, and at time it enhances the experience.
That's good to hear. When you say it's good, I mean it's got to be at least decent. We're not to put
Right.
any jabs out there,
Right.
but I just as we talked about Omno and the music being really helpful in that game. To hear
Mhm.
it in this game too, it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
On to our next point of interest is the story. How's the story in Humankind?
So, kind of much like Civ. Like Civ doesn't really have a story, right? Like the story is kind of how you take your people from the beginning to a industrialized modern society. Now, Humankind does do it in a bit more of a linear narrative way, right? Those cell shaded cutscenes and stuff I was talking about. It's narrated. The narrator, going back to sound for a second, I forgot that the narrator is absolutely exceptional. And so it kind of has that. So it doesn't really have story. Those games usually don't, but it does attempt to tell one in somewhat of a way. So I would put that on the positive for it because a lot of games like that don't really seek to tell stories because it's kind of hard to with the game format.
Okay, so I mean, kind of sounds like Valheim, right? There's a little bit of story, but just kind of push you.
Right. Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah.
That's cool. It helps, some people. And that's interest point is our technical. How are the technicals?
Technicals. So this game did take its sweet time loading. Um, and I was running it on my older system, but my older system is a 6-core 5820K and a solid state drive, Samsung. I think it's either 850 or 950 solid state drive, and a GTX 970. So I'm not running a potato, but I'm not running the latest stuff. And it took its sweet, sweet, sweet time loading compared to some other games that I think are as graphically intensive as this game, and they take way less to load. So I think there's some space to optimize stuff there. Besides that, I don't think I ran into really any technical issues. And that's not technically a technical issue, but it takes a long time to load. Nobody likes that.
Right. Nobody wants to sit there and wait for their game they've been waiting to play all day, as it is.
Yeah.
Our perhaps biggest and last point of interest is the gameplay.
Right. So I took some notes because there's a lot with this game. There's a lot. I want to say so this developer is also the developer behind the games Endless Legend and Endless Space. I don't know if anybody's familiar with those, but those are also strategy games to just put it mildly, right? So yeah, I got some notes here because there's a lot of stuff. So let me talk about some of the gameplay aspects of it. So you start off with a army, right? These armies can be filled with up to 4 slots of units. You can divide this army or units whenever you want to, right? Unlike Civilization, right? Civilization starts you off with maybe a warrior, and they start you off with a settler. You need settlers in order to build cities. In this game, any of your units can set up an outpost in the beginning, and those outposts can grow to become cities. So there's technically no settler unit. I like that. That's interesting to me, because it allows you to really manage. So it allows you to really dictate how aggressive you want to be. You don't really have any units that you quote unquote have to protect, right? There's so many times you be playing a game of Civ and you see a settler being followed by a spearman, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go bleep these people up. With this one, you don't know what they're doing. They could be going to set up an outpost that could eventually become a city, or they could just be roaming around, right? So that's one of the first interesting things that it does. Speaking briefly to the city mechanics, so you can send a unit to set up an outpost. That outpost, if you get enough influence, which is one of the currencies of the game, can eventually become a city. And that city works or functions very similar to the way a city does in Civ. You can build units, you can build districts, right? Civ 6 has districts. It was the first one to have districts. This follows in vein of Civ 6, where you can also build districts, and it increases your ability to produce food or production or science, all that stuff. The interesting thing is that based upon era and different things you have, there's a cap on how many cities you can have, which is another thing that it completely flips the head on Civ 6 or any Civ game. Because a lot of Civ games is, okay, found your first city as quick as you can, just pump out a bunch of settlers and just start seeding the place, right? With this, you can't do that. In the beginning, there's a 2-city max. So that means you can only have 2 cities. And you may only be able to have 2 cities in an entire era, which could span thousands of years, right? Now, you have no limit on the amount of outposts you can create, and you can attach outposts to cities to help increase the influence and basically, how much land, quote unquote, your city, your tribe owns, essentially, right? So it's an interesting way of strategically expanding your domain without as much risk, but still some risk, right? Because again, when you're putting that outpost down, you're not sacrificing a settler to do it. You say, I want to build an outpost here, and the outpost gets built. So that's another cool mechanic of it. Another cool mechanic is the way it deals with technology. So going again, Civ games, you have these technologies that you can research, and my strat has always been just research. Get as advanced as you can, so that way you can get to gunpowder and you can blow everyone away. In this game, you can't do that because technologies are restricted by eras. So if you start off in the Neolithic era, there are Neolithic technologies. And you can't go past those Neolithic technologies until you advance to the next age, which is the ancient age, or the ancient era. They say eras, not ages, which is awesome. That's a great thing because you have to strategize which technologies you want to take from each era along with you. It may not be sound to just research every single technology from an era. You may want to wait, advance to the next one, and then start researching something else there. So that's something else that's really, really compelling. And so they have eras, like I said, compared to ages with Civ. There's about 7 eras. It's Neolithic, it's beginning, ancient, classical, medieval, early modern, industrial, and then contemporary era, which is like our era. The other thing that this game does different than Civ is, Civ, you pick an empire. So you pick the Germans or you pick the Russians, and you have these. In this game, no, you don't do that. So the leader of your civilization is you. You can create a customized avatar of yourself. So you aren't just picking a leader. And you don't pick empires, you pick cultures. So you can start with a culture, and each culture has a legacy trait. So for instance, if I pick the Mycenaeans, my legacy trait may be +1 combat to all melee units, right? Well then, okay, cool. I do my stuff. I'm advancing to the next era. That next era, I can pick a different culture. And what happens is that the legacy trait of the Mycenaeans carries with me to that next culture, and I get their legacy trait. So you're never really just a culture or an empire, right? As you go along, you're picking up different traits and different strengths from different cultures to kind of make this amalgamation of your own culture at the end, right? Which is something that's very interesting, right? So I can be Mycenaeans, and then I can advance to the ancient era, and I can choose to be Assyrians, right? And I'm gaining all that different stuff with me. So those are a couple of the really interesting aspects of the game. As far as like difficulty in combat, it plays very similar to Civ. It's hex based with your tiles. Your tiles give you, this amount of food, this amount of production. They have luxury resources on all of them. It's a lot of it's 70% of it is Civ, right? But the 30% is so different and so unique and requires you to strategize so differently that it is kind of its own game. It's familiar, but it's really different. And you have to really change the way that you think about the game as you're playing it compared to playing something like Civ or to a lesser extent a Total War or something like that.
Wow, that's very detailed and well thought out.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I'm probably missing a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
All right, so with all that in mind, the biggest question of the day is, was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Now, this game, according to my maths, retails for $4,999. All right, that is $50, not $5,000. It's $50. Is it worth it? I would say that it is, because the base game has a lot to it. It's very interesting, very engaging. I would assume they'll be making additional content like they do for Civ in the future. They're constantly pumping out content for Civ. That's why it's like, I think 7 years old, and they're still pumping out new content for it. I can see this having the exact same thing. So yeah, I think Humankind for $50 would be worth it. I would assume you'll probably end up being able to get your hands on this game pretty soon for less, because it's a Civ competitor. And a lot of people, you already have a fractured fan base there. A lot of Civ 6 players, or a lot of Civ 5 players aren't Civ 6 players. Civilization 5 still has a very, very healthy player base because there were so many dynamic things that were changed between 5 and 6. So you already had that splinter there. How much could you peel from the Civ 6 audience, which is really who you'd be going after, based upon the look and the mechanics and everything? Depends, but yeah, I think for 50, it's worth it. 40, definitely worth it. 30 steal.
All right, there we have it. By the words of Jeremy, Humankind is worth the price tag.
Humankind is worth it. Yeah. For all of
All right.
Humankind.
Not the only one with the puns, I see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's move on to our next segment,
Our
the
next
Finer
segment.
Things Club.
The Finer Things
Right.
Club.
The Finer Things Club.
The Finer Things Club.
Wonderful.
Naturally, it's where I need to be.
In the Finer Things Club, it's when we want to highlight a minutia, right? A smaller thing of which we want to give praise to because we enjoy it so much. Now, I just did a bunch of blabbing. I'm going to continue blabbing for a second because mine is quick. The finer thing that I would like to talk about is music and strategy games. This game and thinking back with it and Civ have reminded me at how absolutely important it is that the music in those games be good and they be like well as far as like time, like long, but not crazy long, but longer than you would usually assume, because they have to account for so many hours of playing time. You're spending in a run of Civ or this probably 20, 30, 40 hours, right? So you kind of have to have so much music that's good and compelling. And I think that's something that usually gets overlooked. So that is my Finer's thing.
What about you, Cory?
Yeah.
Where you want to go?
No, it's the longest I've ever gone without talking.
Yeah.
Feels good, baby. All right, so my Finer Things Club has to deal with the Batman Arkham series. I'm a huge Batman Arkham series fan. There's probably a million things I could say about these games. They take the IP and they lovingly make a game based around it, and they don't pull any punches or anything like that. But the thing I want to talk about is each of these three games, I believe they each take place over a single night. So you play at the beginning of the night, and when you're done with them, it's kind of the next morning, which is cool. And throughout that night, you can see things happening to Batman himself in regard to his suit. And I think it was such a neat thing that they did, that throughout the entire night, you see it get damaged, you see the cape get torn, you see all these battle marks on it. And it's just really neat when most of the time when you're a protagonist in a game, you start the game and you end the game looking the exact same. Not to mention, this one is a very cool detail. You can actually see stubble on the opening part of his bat mantle, you know, where his mouth is. Stubble grows in throughout the night. And I think that's just a really cool detail. They didn't have to put it in, but to have that, it just shows the level of care that Rocksteady has. And I hope they have that same care with the Suicide Squad game.
That's just really cool. Like
Yeah.
the stubble thing, like
Yeah.
how much time had to be put into that, and you know, the data and graphics and everything, and
All right.
not even needed. That was a really finer thing.
All right, that's a Finer's thing. Yeah.
Well,
It's mine. I don't know if it's that cool, but my finer things is, as I mentioned earlier, I played Deathloop, and my finer thing is when you find someone that does voiceover acting very well, and they're given a character to play that really connects with you. It really helps push the gameplay. Like I can feel myself in the main character in Deathloop, and that really helps me continue playing the game to see what's gonna go next, what's gonna happen, what is he gonna say? Because a lot of the things he said, I thought of right before he said it, and that just makes me laugh and makes me like the character in this game. And while that might not be that fine, I think it's a little fine. That's my finer thing.
that was nice.
Thank
That
you.
was nice. It was very fine. All right, that is the Finer's Things Club, which means we're going to move on to our games. We premiered this one, I think, a few levels back, and it is back, and it is there and back again.
Oh.
Exactly, double pun in it. Now we have, I think, four topics that we're going to play there and back again, and that way we can fully determine for sure a winner of this game. So far,
First one to get two.
first one to get to, you know, and me and David have been debating in secret whether we're going to let Cory win this one too. But you know, we're going to go ahead and go for it. So, we're going to do? Are we going to do the first topic being games
Yeah.
with
Let's
only
just fo-
one.
Let's just follow it in order.
All right, games with only one in the series. This means that this is a game that came out, does not have a sequel.
Halo.
Definitely.
Damn it.
definitely
Sequels,
Resident Evil.
prequels,
Exactly.
other worlds that may be in that world.
Exactly.
So are
Like
we
Game and
counting spin-offs?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we're counting.
spin-off, so if it lives in that same type of world, that does not count as one in the series, like Apex.
Right.
But yeah, like
Okay.
Titanfall and Apex would be the same. and-
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other
I think that's it.
clarifications for this? I don't think we should have any issues. What about sequels that will come that we're sure of, but like let's say Dying Light.
Okay, if it's been
If it's announced,
aired that it's coming out, we'll
gotcha.
count it.
Say less. We're good.
Well, I mean, you just asked us to say more, so that's interesting.
I
All right.
want you two to say less.
All right. Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk more now.
Okay. Are we ready to start this off? Who wants to start this
And
off?
David, you know how to play this, correct?
Yeah, I did listen to the episode. You guys were amazing on it.
You got about 3 seconds.
Yep.
Jeremy takes about 6 or 7. We give a little bit of leeway here. We just ask that you follow it as best you can and not just put whatever game in there just for the heck of it.
Well, this one we kind of can as long as it follows.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
David, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, it was my category. I'll go with it, and I'm gonna go with one's Spider. It's a PlayStation game.
Oh, who's going next, Jeremy? Is it me or you?
I'll go.
Okay.
Spy Hunter.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Pandemonium.
Manhunt.
There's 2 Manhunts.
No, there's not.
Yeah, the game made by Rockstar.
Yeah, Manhunt.
Yeah, and Manhunt 2. You're out.
There's no such thing as a Manhunt 2.
There definitely is. We can look it up right now.
Google.
Let's look it up. I'm gonna Google it.
Game is paused.
The game is paused.
Yep, Manhunt 2 came out in 2007.
Oh, that's a quick exit.
Come on, man. This was the one I knew I had too.
So since now there's 3 people, does he just not get to play anymore? And it's just between
Right, he's
Yeah.
out. He's out. He's out.
Okay.
Death Stranding.
Okay. Valheim.
Dang it, I was gonna say that. I forget what you've already said. Shoot. I feel like I'm gonna copy something here. Dead by Daylight. Did you already say that?
Nope.
Okay, Dead by Daylight.
But that's good. Knockout City.
Knockout City, beautiful pick. 1, 2, Bully.
Ooh, Mo Stray.
This guy is going to Celeste.
Hello Neighbor.
I think I win.
I think Hello Neighbor has a couple.
That second one.
It has a sequel announced and it has a spit. Oh my god!
Oh, does it? All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I thought this was
I only know
going
of
to
it
lose
because
right
of my
away.
son, and I haven't seen him play any other one besides the original. All right.
Woo! All right.
Cory has one.
All right. I think it's only fair that I start the second game then.
All right, let's go.
Sure.
Which I will only have one, I think, but that's okay. We have sword as a main weapon. So clarification on this one. Main weapon means it's the only weapon they possess, or it's equal parts gun, equal parts sword.
Yeah, so I would say Dante is valid.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't thinking that, but okay. I'll go first and start it off, and we'll go me, Jeremy, David, okay?
Okay.
And we're only obviously doing like one game in a franchise. You can't list off every Legend of Zelda game. Jeremy.
Right. Wait, was that yours?
Yeah, that's mine. That was like doing like a really cool like
Okay.
start.
Oh, okay. Ghost of Tsushima.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I'm gonna fail quick at this. Action games.
You're out, man.
I'm out.
You're out.
I knew it. Jeremy.
The Witcher.
Quick, can it be somebody in the game?
Say it and we'll eliminate you or not. That's the risk you take.
Genji and Overwatch.
I'll say it. Okay. I'll give it. I'm now
I'll
the judge.
allow it.
Allow it because I'm now the judge.
Okay, I'm sorry. Final Fantasy VII Cloud.
Oh no, that was my
Perfect.
next one. Ah, crap. Can I say Sephiroth? Or is that the same games?
You cannot do the same series.
Same series at all. Okay. What about?
And just talking does not extend your time. So we're,
Yeah, I know.
We're at
Yeah, I'm
2.5
out. I'm out.
right now.
That's Jeremy's.
Oh,
yeah,
he's out?
I
He's
got-
out?
Yeah,
Oh,
I got
wow.
nothing.
And Jeremy will not go down without a fight.
Oh,
Oh, dang it! Kingdom Hearts. The Keyblade.
Is that a sword? Does that count?
It's a Keyblade. It's a sword.
I would allow it.
I mean, depending on your attitude, I might have X'd you. I don't know. Depending on how you said it. If I didn't like your tone. Judge is a lot of fun. I might just get eliminated here. No, but all right. Jeremy, you won that one. So go ahead, start.
Possibly the
Tell them
last.
what it is.
All right. So this next category is minority protagonists. We basically mean, right, you have your POCs, as they call it, as well as a female lead or protagonist, however, possibly in a video game. So we're going to start that off. This is probably not going to be, I mean, well, it may have some distance. We'll see. I will start it off. Metroid.
Deathloop.
Dang. The Walking Dead Telltale series.
Oh, no.
What was that? Oh, no. Oh, no.
Blow. Yeah. Assassin's Creed
What?
Origins. That's the guy's name. Assassin's Creed Origins is the game.
Oh, shoot. I need to think of another one.
Yeah, me too. What about the Prototype 2? Sorry.
How
Prototype
long
2.
were you going to stay on Prototype for? All right,
Well,
we're gonna The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Ellie?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
What do you mean? Eh.
Yeah, I'll give that to you.
Ellie
Yeah,
and the other person.
Right.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Far Cry 4.
Whew, okay.
Well, go Ellie. What about the Resident Evil? Jill, Rebecca.
Okay, yeah. Oh, maybe we should make a quick rule. No custom characters, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Tomb Raider.
Halo 5 Guardians.
Are you looking at a list?
No,
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I'm not thinking.
Do
I'm
you
looking
play
at
it?
no. I'm looking at the mixer and I'm thinking.
Do you play as that guy?
Yes, you play as him for most of the game.
His name's Locke, right?
Yeah,
I had no clue.
is Luke Cage.
Yeah, I know. I like Luke Cage.
Quit stalling.
I'm not even the one talking.
I'm a little bit stalling.
I got nothing. So
Come
one of you
on.
guys are gonna win.
Come on.
I'm
Black
eliminated.
guys, women. Black women. How many black women are in?
Did you say black guys, women?
Yeah.
Yes. Black guys, women. Miles Morales.
Dude, you've way
Ooh.
lost. You've way lost this.
You questioned me, Miles Morales.
You spent 3 seconds saying black guy, woman.
All right. I'll give it to you. Black guy,
All right,
black guy,
whenever Jeremy
woman.
can
What do you
breathe
want?
again.
What do you
it'll
want
be
from
bad.
me?
It's kind of let's put it. Okay, so you do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Are you asking me to? What?
Yeah.
I lost.
Black guy,
I
black guy,
admit that.
woman. Oh, okay. That's pretty.
Like
good
we
count,
don't have full conversations in between picks.
Right.
I'll give this to you though. All right.
That should be the name of the episode. As a double.
Oh,
now
black guy.
it is. Now it is. Now it is.
It'll definitely be at the end of the year recap intro.
Oh, absolutely.
Today is a great day.
Level of the year right here. Well, do we want to hit that last topic? Yes or no?
Yeah, let's just do it for funsies.
Okay,
Sure.
so the last topic is
Dang it, I've got a black guy for this one too. Oh my god, that is disappointing.
you could have did like, well, never mind. You could have did like Prince of Persia. I was going to say, that's a Persian guy too.
That's desert.
Speaking of desert games,
You're starting with that.
I'm starting off with Prince of Persia.
That's the only one I know. Isn't like. Yeah, I'm out. I got nothing. I got Rust in Call of Duty. Okay, that's the closest to desert games I've played.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 50 Cent, Blood in the Sand. I'm
Great
assuming
pick.
it's desert.
Yes, it is. Great
Okay.
pick. I'm going to go with Journey.
That is also a great pick, if I may tell you, because
Okay.
man, I would have never thought of Journey myself. Let me just say that I'm out. I had one game. When you talked about this pre-show, instantly I went to 50 Cent, and that was the only game I had.
I
couldn't even think of
immediately
that.
went to 50 Cent, and I was like, I'm going to save this one in the back pocket in case
Because
I
no one
need it.
else is gonna say it. Yeah, you gotta have one of those. Jeremy killing it. We gotta stop playing this game. It's
Thank you.
retired.
I don't. You won the first one, right? We're
No,
winning
you
one.
did.
I did.
Well,
okay.
you cheated.
I see.
Lair is an RPG. Like, whoo.
It's a Dragon RPG.
No.
All right. Well, we are done with There and Back Again, which means we have come to our final thoughts. Can we give one last thought or point we want to make about something related or totally unrelated to this level of the podcast? So, who would like to give their final thought first?
I'll go. All right. So my final thought is, when you deal with something very often, more than you think you should, is it that something that just helps your day, or is it an addiction? For me, it's my smoothie. I'm buying one almost every day, every other day, and I got 6 of them just sitting here empty because I can't get enough of them. Am I addicted, or am I just trying to enjoy my night? I don't know. But that's my final thought.
It sounds like you're addicted.
Yeah, I'll go. I don't really even have a final thought this level. I don't know what's going on. I guess I'll talk about Dune. Dune the book by Frank Herbert. I read it, and now I'm a little bit of a Dune kick. I have started watching the miniseries Dune, Children of Dune. I have bought a board game, Dune. The new movie with Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet is coming very soon. I'm kind of excited to see that. So if there's a Dune video game or one that kind of shows off a little bit of that kind of world, let me know. I'd be interested.
Awesome. My final thought is, when I was little, there were some kids I used to play with on the street, and one of the kids was of Arab ethnicity, and his name, I'm not sure if I should say his name or not, but his name was Sarub. Okay, and I used to every once in a while mistakenly call him Sub-Zero, and I think about that from time to time. So that is it for level 36 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast service. You can like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/Thoughts and Players, like it's all one word. We're also on Instagram at thoughts.players. We're on YouTube, Twitter at ThoughtsPlayers2, and we are on TikTok. We want to thank everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next level.
Peace.